Hello, welcome to the weekly wind-up with myself, Emma Kirke. Today I'm joined by a multi-award winning, inspirational rugby league legend. Julia Lee is a well-known, highly qualified rugby league referee, and breaking the mould had its issues, but this has helped her focus her efforts on assisting women building their confidence and achieving their goals. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Did you like that introduction?
I love that introduction. You don't often get that in rugby league.
Exactly. Tell me, how did you get into rugby league refereeing?
Rugby league refereeing, initially it was a dare. I was a Hull KR fan. I'd been watching Hull KR from being about 11 or 12.
Okay.
And in those days, referees and things like that weren't very well liked. Well, they're not even well liked now, are they?
I was going to say.
And at a very young age, I drank pale ale on the terraces, and very fueled with pale ale when there was an advert in a programme saying, would you like to become a referee? I said, well, I can do better than these clowns as a 17-year-old.
Fatal error.
Fatal error, because then I was better fiver. Dare you do it? And it was, yeah, of course I dare. And next thing I know, I'd written off. And before I knew it, a letter came back, dear sir, you're very welcome. And then obviously I rang up and they went, but you're a girl. Yes, I am a girl. Well, we didn't really want to recruit girls for this, or we've never recruited girls before. So about 3 months later, they invited me to my first meeting, and then there the journey began.
So in terms of this, obviously, it was groundbreaking for the refereeing world. How did your family and friends react to it?
My family were very supportive, although my mum was, oh goodness me, my mum didn't like to be in the limelight. Right. So once I'd done my first game and I'd hit the heights of Hull Daily Mail and Radio Humberside, she was, oh my goodness, you better keep this up now, because you've actually started something that you have to finish. It's not like the drum lessons that you can give them up quite easily. So they were very supportive. My sister was very supportive, and my brother. My friends all were just really proud of me, but it was really interesting. You had different views of people on the terraces that I thought would be really supportive, that were, no, women shouldn't be doing that, girls shouldn't be doing that.
See, I expect that women would have been very supportive, and you'd perhaps received some obstruction from men. Was that what happened?
Very mixed, very mixed. In fact, I remember someone that I knew really well that, and I always admired her because she married a small man. And I know that sounds bizarre, but she'd married a small man and she was a really tall woman. So I presume she'd be really supportive of something a bit different. Yes. So I remember going up to her saying, oh, I've become a referee. And she went, yes. And I don't agree with that at all. And I was like, wow, that is absolutely amazing.
Obviously, you enjoyed it.
First 5 years, I didn't enjoy it, I must say.
Okay.
I think it's one of those things that I'd got myself into it, and I wasn't ever trained. I wasn't ever given how to do the laws of the game. I wasn't ever taught how to referee. At those times, there was very little help and support, which actually helped me build to the future of what I would do in my career and how I would help other people. So every game I went in feeling as though I wasn't good enough, or I didn't have the right tools. Okay. Because literally they threw you the laws of the game book, which if you've ever seen the laws of the game book, it's just a mystery. I mean, even now, sometimes I look at it and I think, how do people really understand that? And it doesn't tell you how to interpret them as a referee. Yeah. So at that time, there was no training, because in the 1990s, I began to work with the Rugby Football League to develop courses for referees that were practical, hands-on. Because actually, it tends to be that referees are kinesthetic, or like to do things like most sporty people do. So they need to have a go at it, rather than, you know, some of the top referees are dyslexic, believe it or not, because actually it's about doing it and applying it. And they didn't give me any, and like anybody, not just women, but I wanted to be the best that I could be. And I used to go out every game thinking, well, I'm not sure what I'm doing, and if I make a mistake, it's crucial. And there was all these nagging doubts in my head, which if I had the tools I had now, I would be able to deal with it. But I remember waking up every morning of the game thinking, oh God, because the first year I was in Hull, and then I moved to London, so I moved straight onto Open Age Rugby League. From doing 2 junior games, I was suddenly refereeing men in London. Wow. Which was totally different, and a good mixture.
And a big ask as well, though, isn't it? You know, to go from one to the other. It's
absolutely. Although, having said that, I always think they might never have moved me on to men. If that hadn't been the case.
Agreed to go to London.
If I hadn't done it in London, I don't think they would have moved me on, because it's all right for women. When I went to Australia in '88, they were quite happy me doing the kids, because that's nurturing and loving, and you can referee the kids. And And that's okay, where you can begin to get your stripes, because Australia is where I really got the tools, because at that time in 90, because I went a year to Australia and I decided to have a referee in there, which is when I became the first referee in Australia as well, which none of it was intentional, it was just, it happened.
Yeah.
And so I was so they taught me, they used to have laws of the game, and they did it where you could really feel how to do it and understand and interpret the laws. So when I got there, it was brilliant. And when I came back, that's when I decided to take it serious, because all of a sudden I felt, do you know, I can do this because I understand what I'm doing and how to do it. Yeah. Whereas before I just never had that background into it. Interestingly, although they were very accepting of me in 1988 because I did the kids, 10 years later I went back as a recommended referee to referee internationals, and it was, oh, well, we're going to have to test to see if you're good enough. So I had to do 3 or 4 games before they actually gave me any internationals. Whereas at that time, Russell Smith, I don't think he would have been asked to do 3 or 4 games if he was a selected referee. In fact, he wasn't. I did ask him at the time, were you asked to do some games to check your competence?
But by that time, though, like you say, you'd had extra tools in your kit bag, so you could cope with that a little bit better.
Yeah, and I think people say, why did you put up with it? Because I wanted to do it. Yeah. And whatever hurdles I had to jump over, so the fitness test, so when you moved from doing just local community rugby into doing national conference and started moving up the ladder, you had to take a fitness test. And at that time you had to run 20 times around the lap, and it was at Wakefield, Thorns Park. Now, I'm not built for speed and I'm not particularly built for running, but and it took me 3 attempts, because you had to do it in 37.5 minutes, and even if I missed by 30 seconds they weren't going to let me through, and they didn't let me through until I'd actually passed it. But some of them were really encouraging and helpful, and it was tough, but I was going to do it. And I also was going to be the best at the Lords of the Game. I took up playing, because initially in the early days they said, well, you can't, unless you've played, you can't referee. So when I moved down to London, there was very little rugby league. There was only open age, no kids rugby league. Fulham were there at the time, and Coach Bev Risman was coaching Fulham, and I went up to him and said, I want to set up a women's team, Bev. Okay, yeah, if you want, off you go. So I advertised on Time Out magazine, got these London women who'd never seen a game of rugby league before, and we're hoying them up every week to play the Northern women, getting absolutely trounced every week. But again, it gave me tools of what it was like as a player. I wasn't particularly good, but I played for about 5 years. So I played for Fulham Women, and when I came back I played for Hull Vixens. I also took my coaching badges, because I thought that would help me as well, understand and interpret the game better from a coach's perspective. And all that gave me the confidence that I could be the best that I could be. And that when I was doing it with, the players in mind, but also understanding the game a lot better from a depth. So not just looking at it from a spectator point of view, but from a more technical point of view.
I want to talk about the skills you've developed to help other people. But I just want to mention, all of everything you've been telling us about has actually been put into a play, hasn't it?
It has. Ref, it's called. Very.
So it's going to be in Featherstone and Batley, is it?
And Castleford.
Okay.
And we've got another performance in Hull, but obviously that's not in this area. So what we've...
This one I'll just play. This is it, isn't it? This is the ref.
This is it.
The referee.
Yeah, that's me in my curly wig days.
So this has been written based on your life?
Yeah, Sarah Jane Dickinson is an academic and a playwright who's at Hull University, and she approached me about 4 years ago. She saw a big picture of me with the curly wig, and she went, I want to write a story about you. And initially it was just going to be a play to go on the radio, and it's actually developed. We've got a really good relationship, and we've linked with a social change charity called Space 2 who are helping us produce it, where we're not just putting it on because our whole idea is to get new audiences in. Okay. So it tells a story. My story is not unique to women. The struggles of a woman in a man's world, or just the struggle of women in the world, it's very common. So there's a lot of similarities. So we've used sport, and we've used particularly rugby league in particular, to tell a story of a woman having to thrive and survive in real difficult circumstances.
And is that what you based your business? You've now got a business, haven't you, that helps women?
Yeah, helps women and girls. And it's around, the whole reason why initially I did it was about inspiring and helping young women and girls to be able to be the best that they can be, because I felt I always had to struggle. There was always doubts and self-doubts and lacking in confidence as I was doing things and constantly saying I wasn't good enough. I want to be able to give really, and if I had the tools I have now, so I'm NLP trained, which is neuro-linguistic programming, I'm a life coach, but also more than that, I've got such life experience. I don't want particularly young girls and women to go through what I went through, because there's no need, I've already done that. I want them to be able to move on to the next stage and have the confidence to be the people that they want to be, whoever they want to be. And if people are saying no to them, actually say, well, no, I can be this, I can be whoever I want to be. So what NLP brings to that is loads of tools. So not just about saying I can help you for 6 weeks, but actually I can leave with you some real significant things that will actually give you confidence to be able to move on all the bumps in the road, because life's never simple. There's never easy roads. There's always things that come along and smack you in the face and you go, oh my God, what am I going to do next? But if you've got some tools to be able to deal with it, or a network to be able to deal with it, then it's about reaching into that bag when you're at a really low point to be able to move on.
And is that based in West Yorkshire, or are you nationwide?
Yeah, it is mainly West Yorkshire. When I worked for the RFL, because I worked for the RFL for 20 years, I used to travel all over the world and all over the country. And I want to be really, really specific. So I am based mostly in Kirklees, although it is West Yorkshire, and coming from Hull, I do some work in Hull with the people actually in Hull. So what we're using is the play as a catalyst. So Ref Crossing the Line is a whole project. So we've managed to get arts funding and heritage funding. So the exciting thing about this project is that they go along and see the play. We then have some money to train up a whole load of young women and young girls to give them confidence, self-esteem and leadership to then go and interview past women in the sport. There is no history of women, although there's some archives here in Huddersfield. There is nothing about women in rugby league, so this is going to give us a really great opportunity. There's some fantastic women that have been in the sport, whether they've been supporters, players, coaches, and this gives us an opportunity, particularly in those 4 areas, so in Featherstone, Castleford, Batley and Hull, to unearth all these great women and tell their story.
Do you have to come to the play, or is there another way we can get in touch?
No, not at all. You can, I've got my website, so it's Common Sense Initiative, so www.csi2012.co.uk, and through that you can contact me. I have all sorts of other programmes going into schools around leadership, confidence, self-esteem and community groups as well. I really love to work with any sporting teams. Plus I do hypnotherapy now, so I'm a bit of a hypnotherapy and life coaching, which I think that's where the real work is, one-to-one, where you begin to identify your specific limiting beliefs, things that you don't feel valued about, and you can really begin to work on those and move forward.
Wow. I don't know quite how to sum that up, really. It's an amazing thing that you're trying to achieve, but with your background and everything you've already done, I just have no doubt that it's going to be an amazing adventure.
It is, and I must say it was quite daunting, because initially when I decided about 5 years ago that I'd worked at the RFL and I didn't feel I was making any more difference. I didn't feel as though I could make a difference. And I wanted to really, everything that I wanted to put in place, I wanted it to have a bit of a legacy. So at age of 47 I decided to retrain, and that was the second time I decided to retrain. So I've retrained, and you know, it's brought a new spring in my step. I didn't want to be waiting for retirement. I wanted to really make a difference with what I've done in life, to make a difference to other people so they can carry on.
Well, thank you very much for coming and sharing.
Thank you for inviting me. I always like talking about myself.
Fantastic, thank you. If you wish to contact us about this or any other topic you see, our details are on the screen. I'm Emma Kirke. Goodbye for now.